Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rodolfo Ongora. I'm a web software engineer at UTRGV, and I'm a recent graduate as well from the University of Texas Pan American UTPA. Rest in peace. Please disregard the date. This was an old presentation. I just like updated it. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a full stack web developer. I work with both front end and back end technologies, and yeah, I just graduated this May. And something really cool about being in college is having the ability to attend to hackathons. If you guys are in college or whatever, you should definitely attend to hackathon, because that's pretty much where I learned most of the stuff and on the spot, right? So yeah, today we're gonna be talking a little bit about Ionic Framework. It's not really gonna be like a hands-on tutorial or something like that. It's just pretty much gonna be like a talk, right, on what you can do with it, how you can achieve all this stuff, and how to get started into actually being productive and being able to develop mobile applications with web technologies. So it's actually kind of cool for me, because I don't really develop like Android or iOS or anything like that, but being a web developer, having this tool to develop mobile applications as if they were native applications, it's actually pretty awesome. And just a little bit of background about Ionic Framework. You need to know a little bit about web development in general, right? You have to know a little bit about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But most importantly, there's this JavaScript framework. It's a front-end framework. It works only with the client. It's called Angularjs. And if you guys don't know, who here has experience with Angularjs? Anybody? All right. Well, I mean, it's super simple to learn. Once you get used to it, it's just you start developing like this. So yeah. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about AngularJS, because this is really important about knowing a little bit about AngularJS. And yeah, what Ionic Framework does, it pretty much works with something called Cordova, or I don't know how to pronounce that.
Cordova.
Cordova?
Cordova.
Cordova? Yeah. Whatever. That technology. It's also a framework that takes the HTML, the website, it takes the website and it compiles this code into your phone. It makes it so it's either Java or Objective-C or Swift or whatever language iOS uses. And the thing about Cordova is that you can actually use the like functionality from the phone, like having the GPS, Bluetooth, all this stuff. You can actually use it by using plugins and using JavaScript, which is pretty awesome to me because I love JavaScript. Yeah, so cool stuff about Ionic is that it's hybrid development. So whenever you develop, you not only develop for either iOS or Android, you actually develop for both of them. And you'll see an example, you'll see how awesome it is to just start typing code, and whenever you save it, it refreshes and it shows you for the output for both of them. And you can develop in any machine. It doesn't have to be a specific operating system. It could be either Linux, OS 10, or Windows, or whatever, as long as you can run Nodejs with it. Nodejs, you don't really have to have experience with Node.js other than how to install a program. That's it. And by the way, if you guys have any questions at some point, or if I'm going too fast or something like that, just feel free to stop me, tell me to shut up.
It actually does as well Windows, I believe, right?
I'm sorry?
I think it also does Windows development too.
Yeah, for Windows Phone?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure about that. I'll have to check, because so far as I know, it's only iOS and Android, but it's been a while since I actually worked with it. So, and other thing is that you don't need any software other than that, and it's completely free, by the way. It's open source, so well, not open source, but it's free, and you can you just download the program, run it, and do a couple of commands. I'm gonna show you how, and that's it. All you need is just a text editor, right? And the cool thing is that there's a bunch of applications that are on the market right now that if you download them, they feel kind of weird, they feel slow, they feel like it's an actual website, right? But the cool thing about Ionic is that it makes it so it feels like it's a mobile application, like a native app. right? Because there's this difference between a native app and a web application running on the mobile phone. And it is a web application, but it does feel like a native app. And another thing is that the documentation is super awesome. And the community, like whenever you have a problem with something, you just go to the website and that's it. It's pretty easy to find stuff. So first of all, why do we have to use Angularjs? Why don't we use Jquery or other JavaScript framework? Well, I don't know. It's probably because Angularjs is super awesome. You can do a lot of stuff with it, and it's super easy to develop with Angularjs. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that comes later, but yeah, the main points about AngularJS, it says it's a front end JavaScript library. It doesn't really get into into back end or anything like that. It's just client side, and you don't have to use like jQuery. I don't know if you guys are familiar with jQuery. And like for example, when jQuery, whenever you have to like say you you get some data from the server or something like that, and you get all this data, and then you have to like parse, clone a hidden HTML element, and then like paste stuff inside of it, and then after that just like clone it and then remove the previous stuff. It's a mess. With AngularJS, you don't really have to do anything like that. All you need to do is just like put a variable and that's it. I'm gonna show you guys how. And you don't do DOM manipulation. The DOM is the data object model, which is tree representation of a website. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like you don't really have to like use these nodes and anything like that. It's all about data, not really manipulation. So and also it comes with a routing engine and a view engine that makes it what it's called a single page application. You don't really have to reload the website. Like if you go to I don't know, youtube.com, and if you ever click a link, it's gonna reload the site, right? And not with AngularJS. It only updates your view. I'm gonna give a quick demo on two-way binding. On what? I didn't talk about two-way binding. So two-way binding is pretty much what makes AngularJS so powerful. What it does is the idea behind two-way binding is that it automatically updates the data from the model to the view. That's it. That's all you need to know. And I'm gonna teach you guys how it actually works. That's the actual application I'm gonna show. Give me one second. Oh, it's here. Plunker. All right. So this is a plunker that I created. Probably I'm gonna zoom a little bit. Let me see. How do you zoom this thing?
Control N plus.
Control. Alright, so this is already like including the AngularJS library here. And when I talked about the two-way binding, like for example this thing right here, this is called a directive. It's a directive that says ng model, right? And what this thing is doing is that it's declaring a model, and the model is called name. And that model, it's gonna be automatically updated whenever I change, because this is an input HTML element, right? So whenever I change the actual input, it's gonna automatically update my model. And this thing right here is the way you output stuff to the HTML with AngularJS. It's called the double bracket, I don't know, double curly braces or something. So if I change my variable, it's gonna automatically update my variable for me, and it's gonna automatically update this output. This is really powerful because you don't really have to do reloading or any parsing or anything like that. And if I go to my actual JavaScript of the file, you're gonna see that whenever I started running the code, it said world, right? Hello world. That was because I was accessing this variable from the controller. So as well, this is super powerful because we can actually do logic with it, right? So let's say we want to check if the user speaks Spanish. So I'm gonna use another directive that is called ng-change, which is what it does is that it pretty much whenever it changes, it calls a function. So I'm gonna call it change, So I'm gonna go back to my JavaScript, and I'm gonna do scope. The scope thing is that it means that it's inside of the scope of this controller right here. But don't worry if you don't understand right now. It's just an example. So I'm gonna declare a function called itChange. So if scope name equals mundo, then alert, you speak Spanish. Oops. Hopefully this, okay, yeah. If I write mundo, then it's gonna tell me that you speak Spanish. So it's really powerful because you can actually access this stuff from the controller and from the view. That's super powerful. So that's how the two-way binding works. Something really important about web development in general, not really related only to like Ionic Framework, is that there's this thing called the MVC, which is the Model View Controller, and it's this separation of logic that keeps your code organized, right? So, for example, a model will be like a database, right? Or something that is data related. A controller is the business logic, right? Like whenever you click a button, what's gonna happen? Whenever you do something, what's gonna happen, right? And the view is just pretty much a representation of the actual data or whatever, right? And that's pretty much how they communicate. Like if the view wanna communicate through the database, they have to go through the controller first, right? So in Apache Cordova as well, Cordova is built by Apache, by the way. It's Ionic. It's built on top of Cordova. It uses Cordova's way of compiling the code, your web application into the mobile application. So that's how it actually works. And it doesn't really compile it. It's just that it builds it for your mobile phone, and it's built by Apache. And what do you need in order to get started? All you need is Nodejs. It's free. NG Cordova. You download it whenever you install Ionic, and you also need Ionic, which is free as well. And of course, a text editor to modify your code. It doesn't have to be like Sublime. It can be any text editor. Like you can use whatever you want. In order to get it, you go to the website. So it's ionicframework.com. But make sure that you already have Node.js installed. So if you go to the site, their site is actually super useful because they have the documentation and all that stuff in there. So all you need to do is just go to the website, getting started, and then they give you like a command. Once you install Node.js, which is also free, it's right here. All you need to do is click here and then click install. And once you install Node.js, all you need to do is just copy and paste this piece of code right here, and then paste it into your command line. It could be the Windows command line or any other shell that you want to use. I know if you guys are not familiar with using command line or terminal or something like that, don't worry. They have a lot of documentation on how to actually use that thing. And, so yeah, that's how you install it. Let me see if I have something else before I actually jump into an example. Well, yeah, I'm gonna jump into my example. So first of all you need to do in order to get started with it is I'm gonna create a new project right now. I'm on my command line. Let me just make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see it. Where is it?
Right there.
Text.
Select. And apply.
I think that's good enough. Alright, so all you need to do is just go to your command line, navigate to a certain directory you want to work on, and then once you do the the command that which is npm, that's the Node Package Manager, which it comes bundled with Node.js.
Could you move it a little bit up? I'll tell you what. The bottom of the screen. Move it up a little bit.
Oh, let me see because I think.
Yeah, if you maximize it.
How do you do that? Like.
Yeah. So just pull
okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so what you can do is that once you have Node.js installed, Node.js comes with something called npm, which is the Node Package Manager, and it automatically installs everything for you. And the Node Package Manager is what its name states, right? It's the package manager for Node.js. So all these technologies, all these libraries, those are part of Node.js. Not part of Node.js, but they work with Node.js. So if I want to install Ionic, for example, I would go with an npm install, and then G, which stands for globally, install a package globally to like your actual to your machine, and then you type Ionic and Cordova, and that will install both programs, Ionic and Cordova, for you. It's gonna take a while, so I already did that. So for example, if I want to create, once I have everything installed, if I want to create a new project, I would go with Ionic, start, and then just the name of the project, right? Let's call it test application, right? Test that. I'm gonna hit enter, and then it's gonna start. You know, it's gonna download. First of all, it's gonna download an example sort of like starter file, and then it's just gonna, once it's downloaded, it's gonna actually do all the magic that it installs everything for you and everything. So as you can see right here, I'm on my folder C, then Node.js. So if I go there, C, then Node.js, it created the test app folder for me, and I'm just gonna wait a little bit until it actually starts installing this. I actually have another one here right now, but I just want to show you how simple it is to like install and just start, because I did it like this computer didn't have Node.js or Ionic installed, and I did it like 10 minutes ago, and well, not 10 minutes, like 40 minutes ago, but it took me like 10 minutes. So it was, there you go. It was super simple to install it, and then to like run it. All you need to know is just get familiar with it. I know for some of you that don't have experience with the terminal or it might look scary, right? It looks like all these movies that show that this guy hacking like a database or something like that, just like tapping into the command line. That's not what it is. It's actually super simple. So yeah, once it generates the project for you, it's gonna ask me if I want to create an account to send push notifications. The push notifications are whenever you like receive like a Facebook message or something like that, you get a notification like on top of your screen right here, and those are push notifications. But for now, I don't need that, so I'm just gonna hit no. And then, for some reason, on Almost computer, it gets stuck here, but it worked. That means it worked. Let me show you guys the folder structure. This is what it is, and that's all you need. All right. So I'm gonna teach you guys something real cool that comes bundled with it. I'm gonna type Ionic serve, and then I'm gonna pass it a parameter called lab, and hopefully, forgot to change to the actual folder of the project, and then I'm gonna type Ionic serve, and then the lab thing parameter. Alright. Yeah, I don't know why this happens, but I'm just gonna go through here, and this is your development environment. We already this is what I just generated, right? We already created out of nowhere like a mobile application that actually works, and I'm gonna teach you guys how you can actually interact with it. So if like for example, this is the iOS version and this is the Android version. So like I can scroll, I can like change views and stuff. I can even interact with this thing, the buttons and the chats. And as you guys can see, I'm not actually using any emulator or phone or whatever. I'm actually in my browser, right? What does this mean? This means that I can actually use the developer tools that comes bundled with the browser, right? In this case, Google Chrome. By the way, don't use anything that is not Google Chrome. Super.
I like this guy.
Alright, how do I put this thing on the bottom?
On the right side.
On the right side? This one?
Yeah, those three.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, so as you can see, I have the console here, and if I log anything from JavaScript, I can see it from the console, right? I can interact with my program, I can do stuff, crazy stuff. So Even if I click here, like to a chat, right, and I go to my account and then I go back to chat, you'll see that it saves the state, it saves the history of the browsing or whatever you want to call it, right? That comes with Ionic, a bundle with Ionic, right? And it's pretty cool. And I mean, when I saw this for the first time, I was shocked that I could like develop mobile applications in my browser and then test them in my browser. That was super awesome. But in case you don't really want to mess with it and you actually want to see it running on the phone and you want to test it, you know, the GPS or something like that, all you need to do is that you go to your git to your command line and then type Ionic, I think it's run, and then it's gonna automatically detect what well, I forgot. You need to add platforms. I think it's add platform and then
Platform add.
platform add. Like this or
Space add, yeah.
space app. Then after that you add the platform. You can use iOS or Android, and it's gonna install, you know, what you need in order to compile it, not really develop, but compile it to your actual phone. And the cool thing is that you can test it with emulators and you can test it directly with your phone. And if you do Ionic run, that's gonna, if you have an Android phone connected to your Windows machine, it's gonna actually, if you have it in developer mode and all this stuff, it's gonna actually run install the program in your phone and run it, and you can test it from there. So I'm gonna walk a little bit on the folder structure. So this is what it's generated. By the way, this is not a folder. It's this one that I just created, test application, right? So I just select this folder. It's gonna open it for me, and as you can see, right here I have my folder structure. But really, all you need to take, all you need to, all that is important, it's just this folder. This folder, www, contains your website. As you can see, it's just the website. This is an index.html file, and this is JavaScript. This is CSS. Those are images that comes with the bundle application, and those are libraries that work with Ionic that you really have to mess with. But as you can see, it's super simple. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, it's just simple application, and this is what I was talking about, Angularjs being able to be a single page application, right? I think I didn't explain directives, but directives are pretty much, you know, keywords that AngularJS picks, and you can actually, you know, like do stuff with the directives, right? So this one right here is a directive. It's called the Ion Map View, and it's gonna render your view, which is, you know, in this case is the whole thing, right? So I'm gonna teach you guys, for example, how here you have the folder templates, right? And if you actually let's see something that is static. This one right here, the status view, it's actually static. So if I go to tab dash, I think it's, yeah, dashboard, it's gonna show me the HTML of that specific view, right? And if I want to modify it, let's say this one right here says there is a fire in sector 3. Let's say there is, it's wrong, HTML, not a fire. Oops, a fire in sector 3. If I save it, it should, for some reason, automatically reload, but it did not. Oh, it's because it's closed, right? Yeah, it's because I turned off the server. In order to actually be able to test it, you will need to have your server running all the time. But once you build it to your mobile, you're running out. So yeah, like if you can see it right here, it automatically updated it. If I remove it back, there you go. It automatically reloads it for you. And same thing with JavaScript. If you change something in JavaScript, it's gonna automatically reload it for you. Let me show you something more dynamic. This one, for example, it's actually using data. So I'm gonna go to my chats view, and same idea, right? I have some you guys know coding, you should know what a for each loop is. So right here, this is the Angular way of doing a for each, what is called an ng repeat, and it's gonna repeat n times depending on how many chats the array chats have, right? So right here is doing, it's a nested, oops. As you can see, this is nested HTML, so this thing right here has access to this variable, to this chat variable. So whenever I repeat something, it repeats this thing. So as you can see, this is a what do you call it, like an item list or something like that. But how do you actually achieve this look, right? Well, first of all, you need to get familiar with the documentation. So you need to go to the website, and then documentation, and then really all you need to take, all you're gonna actually interact with is gonna be the CSS components and the JavaScript. I don't know if you guys have ever used Bootstrap, but it's the same idea. You go to their documentation, and then like, so for example, this one right here, CSS components. They have all the HTML examples and stuff like that you need to, like, pretty much copy and paste, so you can make it look like the way you want it to look, right? So let's actually change something. I didn't actually plan this, so I hope it doesn't crash on me like right now. So let's change the way it looks, the chat looks, right? So if I check the documentation, they have examples on how to do stuff, right? So as you can see, this one right here, it's pretty much how the actual example comes with the chats example, right? So we're gonna do something else. We're gonna change it so it looks like a Facebook post. So let me find it. This one right here. It's not really a Facebook post or something else. But yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pretty much just copy and paste this thing right here that tells me, this, if you copy and paste this thing, it's gonna look like this on your application, right? So I go to the documentation, find whatever I like, and I copy. Then I paste it after a certain part, which is right here. And if I copy and paste it, it should reload. First of all, it reloads automatically because I saved the file, and then you will see that I have something after the chats, right? But I don't want this. I actually want my my chats to look like this. But first of all, we need the images. So I guess I'm gonna just copy and paste. So okay. So what we're gonna do is gonna do an ng repeat, as I talked about. Ng repeat equal chat in chats. And you will see that this should repeat n times depending on how many chats I have on this array. And by the way, I didn't show you guys where the array is stored. So if I go to my JS, which is my JavaScript, you will see that I have 3 main files: app, controllers, and services. At least in this example, right? You can have as many as you want, and you can modify it the way it looks and stuff like that. But like for example, the app pretty much talks about the routing, right? If you ever want to add a new view, or you want to change the name of the view, you can do it from here. But for now, let's just mess with the controllers, because remember how I talked about the MVC, the model, the view, and the controller? So every single view is gonna have its own controller, right? So if I go to controllers, you will see that there's something called the chats controller, right? And this interacts directly, or rather the actual chats view interacts directly with the chats controller, right? So you will see that actually I have an array here. Remember how I talked about the scope being unique to the controller? So I have scope.chats, and then I can actually access that variable from the view. And that's pretty powerful. That's why I'm actually able to like iterate through that array and show stuff, right? So in order to actually make it look like the other one, I'm gonna, since I already have this variable information here, and it's inside the scope of this array, I'm gonna actually access the object. So I'm gonna do chat.name and what is it? Chat that last text. I think that's what it is. And then the image, you can see that from here, there's another directive called ngSource that loads the image after the page loads. So that's what I'm gonna do. Same thing. ngSource. I'm just gonna copy and paste, and then I'm just gonna paste it here and paste it here. And then if I save it, it should automatically reload. And if I see my chats, I should have a chat looking like this, and their respective pictures. I think those are the developers for Ionic Framework. I should probably print them out and put them in my wall because I love this framework. And okay, but the icon doesn't really match, right? So what do I do? You ask Google. So you go to Ionic icons, and they have I think they even have, yeah, they do have a dedicated page, which is ionicons.com, which is kind of funny. And you will see that you have a bunch of icons that you can actually use. So in case of the chat, I think there's like a message bubble or something like that. You can just search message or bubble. Yeah, this one right here. So if you want to answer, you just click the icon. It's gonna give you the name, and we're just gonna change the class. This just became a tutorial, by the way. I did not want to be a tutorial, but just going through how you can actually change stuff, right? So chats, and then there you have it. It's gonna automatically change, and it's gonna change for all of them because we're not really, we're actually iterating through an array, and it's outputting for the array, right? And let's get rid of the first part that we don't need anymore. And now we have a pimped version of the old chat. I don't know why would you want to see their faces like that, but it works. And same idea. You have an account controller from here, and then
actually, wouldn't that be interesting? Because they're always coming up with new messaging systems. So I'm just trying to think of, wouldn't it be interesting if for every text you took a selfie of what your emotions are for the text? And then you assign the text, and then you assign like a selfie of it. So you're sarcastic, and you can actually see the person's face.
Yeah, it's pretty
sarcastic.
cool. And you can definitely do that. It's not that hard because all you need to do is just install the plugin. Okay, I forgot to talk about it. In order to actually access the Bluetooth, the camera, all that stuff, all you need to do is just install a plugin, and I think it's somewhere on the lines. You know what the command is? I think it's Cordova.
Ionic plugin.
Ionic plugin or something like that.
And I think you can do list as well, or search.
Yeah, and you can do a search of all the plugins that come with it, and you can install GPS or whatever, and then you can access it through JavaScript. You don't really have to use C++, C# or C#. No, Java and Swift or Objective-C, right? So yeah, and you can access the camera. You can access. You can do a face recognition even, and then after that, you assign it through the controller, right? So as you can see, as I said, every single view has its own controller, right? So this one right here, the tab account, as you can see, it has an ng model, and it's gonna toggle depending on that variable, right? So if I set it by default on the controller to be false, enable friends because you have none. It's gonna set by default false. So, and the cool thing is that you can individually test on both these views. Like you can test. As you can see, this one right here is enabled. This one here is not. So.
Could you show them the chat? How it looks like?
I'm sorry.
Could you show them the chat?
The path.
The chat. That one.
Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Same idea, right?
Sorry.
And you can do. And something real cool that I found out is that, for example, this one, the tab view right here, depending on which operating system you are on your phone, it's gonna show it either on top or the bottom. Like most Android applications, the tabs and all that stuff, it's on the top right. And here, as you can see, it recognizes which operating system it is, and then it puts it depending on the view. updates depending on what operating system you are. And by the way, it's kind of weird because most of this stuff that I'm actually telling you is kind of obsolete because there's a new version of Ionic Framework coming out, and it's not obsolete, but it's the same idea, right? But it's gonna be super powerful, and there's a lot of stuff that it's gonna change, but you can still develop with this thing, and it's still super powerful, right? So
it's by the same company.
yeah, the same company, right? So don't worry, you can still develop for this thing, and then you can even update your code but I think it's still in beta, right?
No, it's pretty much launched.
Oh, really?
Ionic Creator, yeah. If it's not clear by now, I'm the software developer of the group, so I've been using Ionic for the past 2 years now. So I was in the beta version when it was coming out.
Oh wow.
The way this works is he did a great job today explaining exactly how it gets started, because it really is as simple as that. You download the npm, you put Ionic start, and you get going. That's it. The Ionic itself has a bunch of videos on just how to get started. Like, they'll literally handhold you along the way. And by the end of, I would say 1 day, if you're familiar with JavaScript and all of that. But if you're not, and you're just starting to start it, then less than a week, you should have your own application when you have it on the iOS store. It might not be like the one you had interpreted to do, like the one that you wanted to do, but you could literally publish something in 1 week because of this thing. So Ionic Framework, most open source projects, they started out just doing it because they had a passion. Well, now they're fully invested by the A to Z investments. I forgot his full name, but they got a couple of $1 million of investment because they are empowering so many people to create applications.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, I'd probably get shot if somebody else heard this from California, but like, this is probably like the de facto way of creating a mobile application right about now. Swift and any other programming language, you have a lot more roadblocks, a lot more learning curve than this. Here, you just need to know HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and really, they hold your hand so much that it's not a prerequisite. It's like you can do it. I believe it.
And talking about holding hands, I'm gonna show you guys. Actually, they just built something called Creator.
Right. Yeah.
That's just something else. I'm gonna show you guys how it actually works. I don't know if you guys have worked with Visual Studio, but like whenever you want to create like a Windows program, right? All you need to do is like click and drag, right? And put the buttons where you need them and stuff like that, right? Well, they just did that, and it's on your browser. As you can see, I didn't actually like install anything or anything like that. I just like clicked. So let me actually start from scratch because I don't really have. By the way, but you have to pay for this. I forgot.
Well, if you use one project, it's free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah, if you want multiple projects because you're a business, then yeah, you can pay. You can help them out and help them and pay for it.
Yeah, you go to their page, creator.ionic.io, and then let's start a new application. And they give you a couple of templates, like the one that I used, like the tab one. And then I'm gonna use that one actually. And they create a project, and then that's it. It's created. So you have a tab controller and stuff like that. You can even set, like for example, let's say you have a cart tab right here, and then you on that specific view. So what you want to do is that you can, I don't actually use this thing, but because it's been a while, but you can like click and drag. No, you have to actually go to the view, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can actually click and drag buttons and stuff like that, like a car or something, and then you can like set like stuff, right? And then it exports that thing for you, and you can work with it. It's pretty much a what do you call it? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Really quick, can you integrate that with like a Facebook page, or is it just creating your own web app?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you can use resources from the Facebook API, and then because this is a web application, right? So you can use consume APIs from everywhere, from Twitter, Facebook, whatever, right? And then you can consume APIs, and you can do open authentication, stuff like that. And I'm gonna actually show you an application that I did that actually consumed my own API that I built. Let me actually go to that. This application that I worked on, was a publishing company. It's in Spanish, so bear with me. It was a publishing company in Mexico, and they wanted to do something not really simple, but you know, the project died, so the code is mine, so I get to show it around. So it's pretty much, you know, you select your state. Let's say you go Tamaulipas, and then you select the city. I'm from Rio Bravo. I know there's nothing in there, but yeah. So and then after that, oh, by the way, I'm consuming an API. I'm actually making AJAX calls and retrieving data from us from.
You can click on network.
I'm sorry.
You can click on the network.
Oh
tab.
yeah, I can click on network, and as you can see, where is it?
On the bottom by now.
Well, yeah. It's just that since it's loading stuff from, you know, from the Ionic, there's a lot of stuff. But like, let's say I'm gonna, if I click here.
Yeah, there's the green bar, the top one.
I hate this screen. It's my it's just my computer broke, and I'm like remote this to it. But yeah, I'm consuming you know, a RESTful service, and I can even, like, you know, it was I could select depending on the category, right? I don't have anything here. Where? Okay, there you go. I have a what's the name? Dealership, and if I click read more, it's gonna show me, you know, information about the dealership, and you know, I use the Google Maps API. It actually goes to that specific what do you call it, address, and it shows you the address. I was testing here if I could, like, you know, break the thing using HTML, but apparently you can't. And if I want to like the thing, I can't because I'm not logged in, right? So I go to my username. I think I created one. And you, like, log in. Nope. I'm just gonna create one real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I create a oh no, never mind. This has to be here. So I create a user. I create my password. Set my stuff, and then my email. And it's gonna create an account for me on the back end. And as I'm consuming, you know, my API, it's going to do a push request that you go and created my account for me. Now I can actually go and like this page, and it didn't work. There you go. Now I can actually like it, and it updates, you know, the like counter and stuff like that. You can do a lot of stuff. And let me show you the code. Don't ever mix don't ever mix programming languages, and don't ever mix actual languages, because I have the Spanglish here going on.
Yeah, keep it to English.
And by the way, this is really bad practice. What I did is that I put all my controllers in just one file because I was just testing around. So you can, like, you know, separate your files to be more organized. But as you can see, it's the same idea, right? Remember the www folder? Here it is. CSS, image, JS. I have all my logic in app and controller, and then the services is pretty much, you know, accessing the actual RESTful API, right? I'm doing a GET request. I'm doing, you know, posts and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of, don't ever hardcore narration. But this is really bad practice. Don't follow this advice. But you know, I'm just showing you guys how easy. This took me 1 week or less, by the way. And I actually built the backend as well. So both the REST API and the application took me like 2 weeks. And by the way, but while I was building this thing, there's a site that I recommend you guys visit. It's called livecoding.tv, and you get to, like, you know, watch people streaming coding. And I was, like, you know, drinking beer and streaming at the same time, and coding and talking to the people while I was coding, and they were complaining about my Spanglish and stuff. So yeah, you can. Oh, by the way, you have a search thing that filters the results for you. There's a lot of stuff. So, by the way, you don't really have to, like, you know, build like businessy applications and stuff like that. You can even create games. I don't know if you guys have played the 2048 game. So you can actually build that with JavaScript, right? So when you set it that whenever you click something, you generate an image and then push it or whatever, right? It's web applications. You can do whatever the heck you want with web applications. So and as you guys saw, it was only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. By the way, CSS you can also modify it, right? So right here I have a style which is empty because of that. But you can access HTML elements, like say you want to change the body. What is the background color?
Yeah.
Background color to be black. It's gonna look awful. Is this my application? Yes. I think for the CSS you actually have to reload it.
No, but I think you might have canceled
What?
the server.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, never mind.
No.
Oh, I did. Oh, it's just because it's not the
Multiple
actual,
elements on top of each other.
Yeah, there's something in there, maybe. Oh, whatever. But you get the idea, right? You can modify the, certain elements from CSS and do a background. For example, on this one, actually, on my application, I was actually using like an image for the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was made with CSS. And let me just finish my presentation.
I believe that Tinder was one of the early ones. Whatever.
Yeah. So that's it. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, feedback. If you guys, oh yes.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Now, when you're doing the apps, does it store all these files on a web server for you, or do you need to host those yourself?
You can do it locally, but you can also, I guess, you can do it on the cloud, I guess. But are you talking about the creator, the visual creator?
Well, both.
Well, for the creator, it does save the files like online for you, but after that, you just click download, and it downloads the project for you, right? Okay. But you're working locally pretty much all the time, right? And once you're ready to test, you plug your phone, and then that's it. Ionic run, that's it.
So when you, like, I work for a wrestling company.
Okay.
And I want to make a mobile app for our company.
Okay.
Kind of like WWE.
And you want to like access a certain data and update that data. You want to do that?
Right.
Well, for that you would have to like build a RESTful API to actually like use it, which is what I did. And that's a different topic. You would have to know a little bit about, depending on what technology you want to use. That's the cool thing. You don't really have to do it with JavaScript. You can use C#, Java, or whatever, right? And build a REST API, and then actually, because there is where it lays the separation between the front end and the back end, right?
Right.
So that your front end would be, or your client would be your phone, your mobile application, and then you consume data from the server. That's where you put your data, your database, all that stuff, and that would have to be like like a different topic. I can do another presentation if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much how you would access online data, right?
You should look at Firebase. What
Firebase
Firebase does is it's a hosted solution, so you use their servers for the data hosting. And it's by Google. Well, it got acquired by Google. And what it does is it's real-time data. So if the client consumes something and say the client changes something, like a like, then it's automatically updated, synchronized to the rest of the world. So everybody else gets the update.
Oh.
So it handles a lot of the issues with data management, especially when you're working with mobile apps. So we'll probably have another session on Firebase.
Does it have something like latency? I know like MongoDB now has like mini Mongo, and what it does, it kind of catches it, and then that way so it'll be fast. Does it have Ionic have something like that?
Well, it does not, but you can use any front-end JavaScript framework that you want, right? You can use Jquery, and you can use, if you want to use mini Mongo, I think it's, what is it? Meteor, right? That comes with mini Mongo. Meteor, and you can use React.js, you can use whatever you want, but it would change a little bit on, you would have to like make it work with Angularjs in sort of way, so because that's how you access the controllers and stuff like that, right? Yeah, you would have to adapt but you can definitely use any JavaScript framework in the front end. And by the way, if you guys are shy of asking me questions right now, you can send me an email, so.
I'm not a programmer.
Uh-huh.
And I think creating something.
Sure.
So I mean, I had like the idea that working in native was better
Yeah.
for some than working in this kind of
Mhm.
framework. So what's the advantage? I mean, besides the easier, besides the how easy it is to work with this, what are the disadvantages more
Okay.
I mean, versus working in native?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, the disadvantages would be, you know, it feels different, right? It doesn't really feel like a mobile application because it's a web application, right? So some stuff might be a little bit slower, right? Because you're actually using a web view instead of, you know, using the native power that a native application has, right? That's one of the disadvantages, right? I guess, well, I think that's pretty much, you know, the only disadvantage that I will see. And an advantage would be that you're doing hybrid, you know, development, right?
Yeah.
So it goes for Android and iOS. You don't really have to write two code bases, right?
Yeah, so what if you want to scale it and what about the performance?
Oh, the performance? I mean, yeah, that's definitely, you have something to consider, right? And Angularjs only gets so powerful, right? So you would have to, like, you know, analyze what you actually want to build, right? If, let's say, you actually want to build like a 3D game or something like that, or you know, augmented reality game or something like that that use the camera. In that case, I think it should be a better idea to use other tools. This is mostly for, you know, stuff like that I showed you, and not really, you know, like stuff that the processor is gonna use, you know, a lot of power or something like that, right? And another, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Security or other things?
I would also say that it depends on your level of expertise. Like, one of the disadvantages is that if you wanted to get the touch, you know, the unlocking with the touch, it's a hardware component. So not a lot of people, not a lot of developers require that. So Cordova, you know, the main company that tries to create a cross-platform solution, that's very iPhone specific. So it's not in their interest to build it for you, right? So sometimes if you want something that is very hardware, like that you want, but they don't have it available, you would need to create that for you. But it's very easy to do it, but you have to do it, right? Does that make sense? And it's up to you as a company whether you're going to open source that, which, you know, you're encouraged to do that. But if not, then that's actually a competitive advantage, right? Like if your company can develop access to the hardware of phones, then you're the only application that can do that using the easy tools that they have. And as far as security goes, no, this is pretty secure.
Yeah.
You won't have any issues with that. The only disadvantage as far as security is they have all the source code is kept as a flat file. So they could grab it and they could look at your source code. So they could replicate your code, but there are services that will actually encrypt your code. So it used to be an issue, but now it's no longer an issue.
And you know, well, no, that doesn't really solve the problem. But the good thing about this, another advantage that you have is this is a web application, right? So you get the files from the server, right? So all you need to do, this is a pretty cool trick that I use actually, is that all you need to do is that you create your application and then you host all the HTML, all the JavaScript in your server, and then you actually get that stuff from the server. So whenever you want to update your application, you don't really have to go through the App Store or the Google Play Store or stuff like that. All you need to do is update your files in the server, which is, you know, kind of a tricky situation, I guess, but you can update it pretty real quick.
So the files are stored as HTML, CSS
Yes.
on the phone.
Yes.
So then Ionic has a renderer that will. Or
Yeah.
what, how
It's a web view.
it's a web view?
Yeah, it's a web view pretty much, right?
Okay.
So that's what, you know, that's what some people, you know, see it and it's like, you know, I don't want my application to be a web view. I want it to be like a native app, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's a matter of choice, right? At the end of the day, you could, you know, start learning Swift and buy a $100 license a year.
Yeah, I do want to say that there's a progression basically. Like, if your goal is to get to market, use Ionic. You know, there's a lot of issues with scale, like millions and millions of people, but you'll get that once you have all that millions of dollars in your pocket, right? Deal with it then. Right now, your biggest problem is have an investor figure out, oh wow, there's actually this. That's of my opinion, though. Some people really do care about the scalability at the very beginning, but they have the money to burn to do that. And so one of the reasons I really wanted Rodolfo to come by and talk to us about it is because I use Ionic pretty much every other week, if not pretty much every week. So it's indispensable for me. I can tell you that a lot of mobile apps that are being created today, like locally sourced, they're actually outsourced, and they're pretty much templates. And you know, it's to each own what they want to do, and you can have a debate about what do you want to do with that. But here we're actually giving you the tool set to create your own, and you could actually, you know, compete locally on creating your own applications for these businesses, and they're all really straightforward. So, it's whoever is interested. I think he did a great job on presenting how to really get started, basics on how to do it, and then now I leave it to you guys to challenge yourselves to pick it up. You have Rodolfo's info, and you have us as Code RGB. If you have any more questions, I want to stop because pizza's here, and I know you guys are hungry, and there's drinks as well. So I want you guys to go out there and enjoy yourselves. I'll be here. You'll be here, yes? Yeah. So continue the conversation. We stop until everybody leaves. So if you guys want to stay here until tomorrow morning, oh my God, but we'll do that, okay? We'll do that. This is your first time here. Come by, meet me, meet everybody. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.